Is it going to happen, or is it just a hope it's going to happen?
It's the most extraordinary thing that's happening. I mean, if you want to apologize to somebody and you want to be with them, what would you do? You'd say nice things, you'd be happy, you'd be kind. But Harry has come out with demands that are absolutely ridiculous.
The gates of Buckingham Palace didn't just close on Prince Harry, they slammed shut with force. And what's behind them isn't only tradition or protocol, it's a message. A message so loud it might as well have been shouted from the royal balcony. You can't walk away, burn the bridges, and then expect a welcome home party. When Harry touched down in the UK recently, the whispers started before his plane even hit the runway. And they weren't about reunions or hopeful reconciliation with the royals. No, the buzz was all about one question: who exactly was with him?
Now you think, does he want to see him or doesn't he want to see him? Does he want to hurt his father or not? So it's very difficult. I think in the end they won't meet, and I hope so, because Harry's saying he will only see he will only see his father if they don't go anywhere near something that's royal.
Archie and Lilibet, the children, the ultimate wild card. From the very start, these two have lived in a haze when it comes to their royal ties. Their connection to the crown has been clouded by endless controversy, secretive hospital stays, missing documentation, and a flood of public suspicion over how those pregnancies were handled. For a monarchy built on lineage, ritual, and written truth, it became an uncomfortable chapter they never properly closed. And now Harry storms back into the picture, practically insisting that his children be welcomed inside Buckingham Palace, as if nothing ever happened.
Now, his father is coming up to London on Wednesday to have, a look at the doctor. The doctor will look at him and see how he is, and he comes up every week. Right. So it's said today that Harry was incredibly busy. He doesn't know how he's going to do it.
Not just for a visit, but for full royal treatment. As if Harry had never walked away from his titles, as if the Megxit storm had never torn through the palace. Let's be clear, this wasn't some polite, "Hey, can we drop by for tea?" request. This was a calculated strategic move, and King Charles saw straight through it. His response? A hard, immovable no. No entry, no reunion, no exceptions, not even for the grandchildren. And that rejection wasn't a simple family snub. It was a thunderbolt from the very core of the monarchy, a signal to the world, and most of all to Harry, that while blood may run thick, the crown runs thicker. And this is where the drama takes an even messier turn.
A lot of journalists are going very pro-Harry and very anti-William and anti-King. It's just Harry and Meghan that are wonderful. I absolutely am not. I think Harry is very, very dangerous.
Because this wasn't just about children visiting a palace, it runs far deeper than that. Behind the scenes, legal experts are already raising their eyebrows. Why was Harry suddenly so determined to bring Archie and Lilibet back to the UK? And why now? Some insiders believe it's the opening move in a much bigger custody chess game. The idea to plant the UK as a legitimate base for his children, possibly even against Meghan's wishes. Think about it. If a custody battle ever erupts, and with the way things look between Harry and Meghan, that's hardly impossible. Harry would need to prove his kids have real physical ties to Britain, and this sudden push could be his way of setting the stage.
He wants to get his own back, and I think that's what Meghan's telling him. And what Meghan tells him, that's what he does.
Emotional ties, royal ties, and Meghan, nowhere to be found. Not on the plane, not inside the palace, not even making headlines, at least not directly. Her silence is deafening. Whether it's strategic, protective, or carefully calculated, nobody knows for sure. But one thing is obvious, she wasn't about to stand beside Harry while he rolled the dice on this risky move. Some believe she's staying quiet to avoid pouring fuel on the fire. Others think she's letting Harry take the blow in public so she can stay untarnished for her next big Hollywood step. A fresh brand deal, another interview, maybe even a second memoir. Whatever's brewing, she's steering clear of the crossfire. Meanwhile, Harry, the man once hailed as the people's prince, now looks like just a man knocking on a palace door that refuses to open.
His father is in that position right now. Now, we hope he lives, a long life and much longer than it currently is, right? We hope he kicks cancer's backside. But who knows? Who knows what the doctor finds out, right? Yet the posture seems to be exactly the same from Harry.
This wasn't just a failed visit, it was a failed power play. And it exposed in plain sight everything Harry has lost: credibility, control, and any shred of influence inside the royal family. When King Charles said no, it wasn't just a denial of a request. It was a reminder to Harry and to the entire world that Buckingham Palace is not a revolving door. It's a fortress. And no matter how hard Harry pounds on it, if the king says no, that door stays locked tight. There's a sharp irony in all this. Watching Harry, the prince who once shattered the palace walls with Oprah revelations and explosive memoirs, now desperately struggling to climb back over the very walls he helped tear down.
Well, it's worse, actually. Yes, the things that he's demanded, I'll tell you, 3 things. One is that his father got to pay out of his own money.
And this isn't just about bringing his children into the palace. It's about dragging himself back into relevance. For a man who once walked away from royal life preaching freedom and peace, his latest moves scream of someone who craves the structure, the status, and the spotlight that only the crown can offer. What's shocking is that Harry actually seems stunned by the icy reception, as if years of blasting his family on global stages could simply vanish with one cheerful photo op in the palace gardens. He's reaching for the perks without paying the price. The royal respect without the responsibility. But the monarchy doesn't bend that way. It isn't built on feelings or personal desires. It stands on protocol, tradition, and discipline. And Harry has broken all 3.
Protection for 4 of them. He wasn't allowed this in the courts because he's no longer a working royal.
And Charles, no matter his fatherly instincts, is still the king. And a king doesn't play along with power grabs, dressed up as family visits. And then there's that security demand. Reports say Harry wanted his full protection reinstated for himself and his children, funded by the British taxpayer. This after already suing the Home Office and losing, arguing he wasn't safe in the UK without armed guards. And now he expects King Charles to personally cover the bill? It comes across as delusional at best and entitled at worst, a picture of a man refusing to face the fallout of his own choices. This isn't 2018 anymore. The public doesn't view Harry and Meghan as bold rebels challenging the crown. They see a couple out of touch with the very consequences they created.
Number 2, the Buckingham Palace have got to deal with the press and any photographers because they don't want anything that's not friendly and warm. This is for Meghan.
The fairy tale has soured completely. The Netflix deals are stalling, their media brand is fading, and the royal family has already moved on. William, Kate, Camilla, they didn't even flinch when Harry came knocking. Not one of them reached out in public, not a single gesture of support. The family's message couldn't be clearer. The door isn't just closed, it's bolted shut. And the timing couldn't have been worse for Harry. Just as he tried to spin a redemption story built on fatherhood and family values, the British tabloids ripped him apart. Duke denied. Charles says no. The headlines weren't simply mocking, they were merciless, and social media piled on instantly, turning his failed palace request into nothing more than a meme.
3 is that Meghan has got to be given the HRH, which is Her Royal Highness, and everybody's got to, from now, curtsy or bow to her. She's done absolutely nothing.
Thousands of comments poured in, most of them cheering for Charles, most of them mocking the idea that Harry still thought he could just waltz back in and get his way. And then there's the issue of Archie and Lilibet themselves. For years, rumors have swirled around their births. Talk of surrogacy, secrecy, and a lack of transparency that continues to cloud their legitimacy in the royal bloodline. Harry's attempt to bring them into the palace may have been his way of shutting down the whispers, trying to normalize their place within the family. But instead, it only reignited the storm of questions. Why now? Why the sudden rush? And why is the palace pushing back with such visible resistance?
Apart from moaning for 72 days when she was there. She hates the royal family. She won't do anything that's helpful. What does she want all that for? It is just testing the king. That's what I think.
Behind closed doors, insiders say tempers are boiling. Some even claim Charles's refusal wasn't only about drawing a line, but about fear. Fear of setting a precedent, and fear of reopening the wounds the monarchy worked so hard to stitch shut. Because letting the children in would spark a storm of questions about their status, their future, their inheritance, and those are questions the crown has no desire to answer in public. So where does that leave Harry? Trapped. America no longer idolizes him the way it did in the early post-Brexit glow. Britain has slammed the door, and Meghan, she's keeping silent, watching the chaos unfold from across the ocean.
It's very tiring and it's very worrying. So you don't want a boy, because he might be 40, but he behaves like a boy, shouting at you of what he's got to do. I mean, he shouldn't bring that up in the subject whatsoever. Nothing.
And his children, innocent as they are stuck in the middle of a storm he built himself. What was framed as a family visit now looks more like a failed invasion, and the consequences are only beginning to surface. The fallout from King Charles's rejection isn't just about hurt feelings. It's about legacy, about what remains when titles are stripped, trust is destroyed, and the bridges between families are burned to ash. For Harry, the reality is harsh. He's not only cut off from the palace, he's a man with no true home in either world. The UK has moved forward. The monarchy has locked its gates, and across the Atlantic, the once bright glow of Hollywood sympathy is already starting to dim. His memoir, once a global bestseller, has lost its punch. The public's appetite for royal grievances has gone flat. Every new interview feels like déjà vu, the same stories, the same complaints, the same misunderstood prince narrative on repeat. But the audience isn't buying it anymore. The story has shifted. Harry's no longer the underdog fighting the system. He's the man stuck staring into the past while pretending to march into the future. And then there's Meghan, strategically silent yet always lingering on the edges of the spotlight. Her absence during Harry's UK trip wasn't just convenient. It looked deliberate, calculated, and perfectly timed. No missteps, no staged photos, no fresh fuel for her critics. But insiders say Meghan is watching closely, waiting to see how this rejection plays out. Some believe she's already framing it as ammunition for her next big move, maybe a new Netflix feature, maybe another headline-grabbing interview. The storyline practically writes itself. Meghan, the outsider, coldly cast aside once again by an unfeeling monarchy. But there's a risk, because that victim narrative has been played so many times, it's starting to sound like a broken record. And behind the polished surface, whispers are growing louder. Rumors of cracks in the marriage itself. Talk of Harry feeling more isolated than ever, and Meghan feeling more boxed in than she ever imagined. If this public humiliation in the UK was part of a bigger strategy Harry pushed without Meghan's full support, the rift between them could widen fast. And now, with legal experts openly questioning possible custody maneuvering, the stakes are no longer just emotional. They're legal, financial, and even international. Just picture the headlines: California versus the Crown. A battle not only over parental rights, but over who owns the narrative, who controls the story that defines their children's future. Meghan insiders insist would fight tooth and nail to keep Archie and Lilibet rooted in the US, far from the harsh glare of royal scrutiny. But if Harry is working to pull them back into that world, even symbolically, it could ignite a brutal legal war that drags every side through the mud. And through it all, notice the palace's silence. It speaks louder than words. Not a word from Camilla, not a glance from William or Kate. No leaks, no quiet briefings, just a wall of royal frost, and that silence is louder than any tabloid front page. It signals unity, finality, and a firm decision to lock Harry out for good. The monarchy, despite all its past chaos, has finally drawn a line in stone, and Harry stands on the wrong side of it. The most painful truth? He did this to himself. Back in 2020, he didn't just walk away from the institution, he set it ablaze on his way out. And now, standing in the ashes, he's reaching for a second chance. But second chances don't come easy in the House of Windsor, especially when the crown feels it has been betrayed. So now, Harry is staring down a brutal truth. He's no longer the young prince who walked behind Diana's coffin, no longer the soldier prince, no longer even the cheeky royal rebel. Today, he's simply a man with fading influence, a shattered family bond, and a legacy slipping right through his hands. The gates of Buckingham Palace are closed, and this time, they're not reopening. Because in the end, the crown always protects itself, and Hermes, for all his titles, memories, and tears, is no longer part of the shield it defends.